Hey everyone, it is Bref McHugh, CEO, founder of Clinic Growth. Thank you so much for joining. I'm super excited to get started with our 2026 growth marketing plan. We're going to kick off everything here in just a moment. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining. I realize that time is your most valuable resource, and I want to ensure you that your time is going to be well spent today. Before we get started, if you could just drop a quick 7 into the chat here. I want to make sure that you can see me and that you can hear me. And I'm going to keep an eye on the chat here throughout the course of the webinar today as well. All right. So just a quick, hey, Maria, thanks for joining. And we are also got Rissy. Hello there. We've also got some live streams going on as well. For those of you who are joining via the live stream, hello. So it's December 2025 at the time of the recording here. So we are going to be going through what's required to really take advantage of the opportunities during 2026. We're going to be building that growth marketing plan together on the session today, and we're going to be doing this interactively. So there's going to be a workbook that you'll have access to. We're going to cover all those bases, but just real quick, again, I want to connect, and I see some of you are connecting in the chat here. Brittany, we are starting. We're going to be starting right now. We're going to be getting into the content here. Thanks for engaging and thanks for checking in. So before we get started, I want to make sure that you do have the opportunity to take advantage of some of the resources that we have here. So we're going to open up the workbook in a minute. I'm first going to go through and do kind of a high level on some of the trends that we're seeing within the digital space and within the industry at the end of 2025, what we've been seeing during the year, and also what you're going to kind of encounter more of during 2026. And so some of the trends that we've been seeing, number one is there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to cover that. And before we get into the trends and some of the content, I want us all to understand what the agenda is for the presentation today, for the call. So number one, we're going to get started on clear goals, kind of understanding what your goals are for the year, understanding those targets that you're going to be shooting towards for 2026. And then as you understand the goals, as you have a clear sense of that, we're going to be able to formulate a really clear plan. So we're going to also be looking at key performance indicators. What are those KPIs that you're going to need to understand and to align with in order to grow your business? And we're going to walk through calculators and tracking. I'm going to give you access to some new tools that we've created on the presentation today as well. And we're going to help you to map out that plan. So there's a workbook that we'll be getting access to here in just a moment. And we're going to talk, as we go through the workbook, you'll have access to tools for budgeting, of course, so that you can budget appropriately for 2026. We're going to look at the marketing channels that are existing. We're going to look at the important trends within the industry. And we're going to really go through from soup to nuts to help you to get set up with massive success for 2026. So again, if I can just get a quick hey in the chat here. I want to make sure that everybody is following along, and we're going to get started with the workbook here. So let me know if you can. First of all, you can go to the link is in your email, and I'm also going to drop it in the chat here as well. This is for the workbook, of course, and the link has been emailed to most of you, so you'll have access to that. It's also available at clinicgrower.com. 2026 plan. Okay, so here we go. Once you click that link in the chat, let me know if that works for you. And that is going to open up the workbook for you or bring it to a page where you can copy and save and use a version of that workbook for yourself. Just reply back in the chats for anybody who's on live here so that you can let me know if you got it. The workbook, once you get access to it or go to the page, it's going to bring you here to growth marketing plan page, and you can just click the link here and it will bring you directly to the workbook. So this is the workbook that we'll be using to follow on from the session, because I do want everybody here to take action today to be able to actually work on the plan. We're going to go through a lot of content, but I want you to be able to make sure that you're able to really follow along, take action. Okay, so you have requested access. Going to have my team on the back end are going to enable access to that. I should do it right here as well. Okay, and so if you go ahead and just do a refresh on that, you should not now have access. Just let me know. Brittany, if you can go ahead and refresh your screen, you should have it. It's going to be view access, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to go to, once you can view it, you'll simply go to File. You're going to make a copy, or it'll prompt you to make a copy for yourself so you can have the actual working document on your own computer. Let me know if that makes sense. So give everybody a minute to go ahead and do that. I want to make sure that you have access. Okay, team, just let me know if you got it or if there's any other issues. We'll get that figured out before we move forward. And then we're going to get into some more of the content. We're going to start talking a little bit more about some of the trends, and I'll introduce a little bit more on who you're speaking with here as well. Maria, great. You got it. Awesome. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the pulse check on that. We'll keep an eye on the chat here as we go as well. And so for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Bref McHugh, of course. I'm the founder, CEO at Clinic Grower. Well, I'll talk a little bit about, who I am, so you have an idea as to the content we'll be going through and some of the experience that I have. At the core, I've been working within the medical and marketing industry for over 20 years. I've created a book. It's called Seductive Digital Marketing and Sales for Aesthetic Practices. Some of you on the web presentation here today will have had access to that. I had the pleasure really of working with, at this stage, throughout my career, over 400 medical and aesthetic practices. So extremely honored to have worked with all different shapes and sizes of practices, to have gone into practices, to have scrubbed in practices. And really I've been able to use my marketing expertise, my marketing knowledge, and building a team here at Clinic Grower to enable aesthetic entrepreneurs, medical entrepreneurs, business builders, clinicians, and people who are looking to make impact in the world, been able to play my part, and my team celebrates the wins that we play in helping businesses like yours to attract more patients and to help more people to look better, to feel better, and to be better versions of themselves. And so my background goes back, I won't bore you with details, but I've handled money from politicians. My favorite part, of course, is working with local practices in the marketplace. We're able to truly make more impact by working directly with you so that you can have the impact with the patient, provide those treatments and procedures. And here's a sample of some of those practices. I used to really enjoy getting into practices on every few times a month. Now, of course, as a business that has grown since 2017, we love to attend events. We love to connect in person. We're working with medical spas, aesthetic centers, plastic cosmetic surgeons, and vein centers all across the USA. Our mission here at Clinic Grower is to work with growth-minded medical and aesthetic practices in order to help you to attract more patients so that you can have that impact in the marketplace, you can grow your business. And our team here at Clinic Grower, we celebrate every single win as you're helping more patients to look better, to feel better, and to truly be better versions of themselves. So I appreciate everybody connecting on the web plan today. We're going to get started. I'm actually going to jump straight in and just start talking through some of the trends that we've been seeing heading through 2025 and into 2026. And so, as I spoke about a little bit earlier, AI is very much hot on everybody's lips right now. There's so many examples of how artificial intelligence is being used. And I'm going to share some of the key trends relative to AI. And so the growing popularity of AI, there's new players that are having impact and have really emerged. And that's ChatGPT, that's your Claude, that's going to be your Perplexity, it's going to be Gemini. And there are things that we need to really think about going into 2026 from your marketing perspective, because they are impacting. They're impacting the ways in which patients are finding your practice. They're impacting ways in which patients are engaging with your practice. They're impacting the whole new patient journey. I think that's one really important trend that we want to ensure that we're covering base here on. And we're going to go into more detail on that to talk through the nuances and to give you a plan to deal with that. There's also video. You heard us talking last year. You heard me presenting more about video, the impact of video. I think that we're just going to see more and more of that. I know many of you here are using video more and more within your marketing, within your organic, on the social media platforms, on Instagram, the reels and feeds, also on TikTok as well. It really is powerful organic play in which to connect with patients, and then also leveraging that short form video within your marketing and within your advertising as well, in order to help you to connect with patients, to educate, to inspire, and to attract new patients. Also, importantly, within that is while we've been speaking about artificial intelligence, one thing that people are looking for now more than ever is connection. And while AI can help us to create efficiencies and to increase effectiveness within processes, and also to create, people are looking for that connection more and more. And so authentic video content, providers really showing up to educate patients, to talk about the differences between treatments, and to help them to kind of overcome some obstacles and perceptions in the mind of the patient and essentially to stand out in the marketplace. So I could go on more about trends on video, but we will be covering a lot of this from a more of a tactical implementation standpoint coming up. These are some of the top trends. Online scheduling, I speak to, probably a little bit less practices now about the ones that haven't implemented this because many of you have, but patients are demanding it. Patients are looking for that convenience, ways in which to schedule online. Still talk to a lot of practices that are just in the process of implementing that. When you implement online scheduling, it really can be a game changer because it shortens that gap between the patient coming into the practice, obviously finding out what is the times that are available that suits them relative to things that are going on in their world. Okay. And also AI lead follow-ups, leveraging the power of automation, leveraging AI to conversational AI to help to subsidize and to complement the conversation that patients are having on the way into your practice. And so that's going to involve texting, two-way texting, email communication, and also voice AI is something that it's a very hot topic right now. There's a lot of different types of products out there. We're looking at some products ourselves, but being very careful because we want to make sure, and I'm sure you do too, that there's really good congruency on that patient journey. And we want to ensure that any AI tools are there to really to help to increase that trust, to help with that speed to lead, and to help with building the trust and confidence with patients coming into the practice. Let me know if that makes sense, everybody. If there's any of those, if I get like a little AI in the chats here, is anybody implementing any forms of AI in their business currently? Would love to hear from you. Okay, we are going to, for today, we're going to make sure that we need to set some goals. Okay. And first and foremost, as we go into 2026, we need to ensure that we have a target in place, that there's a clear pathway for us to achieve the goals that we've set out. And if you haven't set those goals, or if you've been so busy at the end of the year that you haven't had a chance to put them on paper, that's what we're going to be doing next. Okay. Maria, awesome, using ChatGPT and Gemini. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's some very good tools out there, and just using them is going to be important. It's going to help everybody to achieve more in 2026. So I'm a big fan of, as I call Uncle Tony, Uncle T. And so, as Tony Robbins, as his quote says, people with clear written goals, they accomplish far more in a shorter period of time than people could ever imagine. Goals are like magnets, as Tony says. They'll attract the things that make them come true. And so this is something that a lot of people skip over. They go straight to the implementation, but just writing down the goals, which we're going to do in a few minutes here, and having that intentionality is going to help you to achieve those goals and to level up and to break through new barriers in 2026. I just had a guest recently on the Aesthetics Growth podcast, the podcast that I host, and Laura Glazier from Array Med Spa, which is near Mount Pleasant, near Charleston. She was saying that she is now making decisions and taking action in the mindset of a Fortune 500 company, because that is what her company is becoming. And that is who she is. She is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Her med spa isn't in that category just yet, but that's what she's building towards. And I'd love for you to adopt that mindset today and to put yourself in the future of who you are becoming and what your business is becoming as part of the growth initiatives that you have. Because when you set those goals, when you adopt that mindset, when you take action, that's what's inevitably going to help you to achieve those goals and to break through some of those barriers. So when it comes to goals and when it comes to actually taking action, there's kind of two sort of situations really. Without them, it's like jumping in a car without a GPS. You're driving around the city, you don't really have a destination, or you're like a boat that's really floating in the wind. And when it comes to actually having goals and actually having a set schedule to work by, that's where you feel like you have the wind in your sails and you've really got that momentum. And so you've got those goals, you've got the direction, you've got the targets, and that's what we're going to get through here. And we're going to jump into the workbook in just a moment to do just that, to set those goals and to set those targets. So it looks like everybody now has access to the growth marketing plan. Just let me know if you don't. We're going to get our workbooks out here, and we're going to, ideally, you'll have that on a tab on your computer, or maybe you've access to print it off. Typically find that having that digital document is quite helpful. Try not to have maybe like 65 tabs open. Yes, I'm guilty of that sometimes myself, but really just focusing a couple of tabs here. Obviously, we're going through the workshop here today, and then having the workbook open as well. And so Once you have that workbook open, what we're going to do is we're going to go down through the initial checklist, and we're going to take a look at the snapshot. So that should be in your workbook. That is going to be one of the first pages within there. There is additional information within the workbook. So you've got quite a lot here, information that's going to subsidize more from the recording today, but you're going to be working within the initial goals here within the current snapshot section, which is actually on page 2 of the workbook. Okay. So let me know if you got that. And I want you now to think about 2026. And even before we get there, 2026, we're wrapping up 2025. What is that current monthly revenue? Where are you? Where are you finishing up 2025? What's the average number of sales, of transactions, of treatments or procedures? That terminology is going to differ a little bit depending on the exact type of practice that you are. But for a lot of us, it comes down to a sales revenue, comes down to a transaction standpoint. And these are numbers that you're able to average out by looking at the data within your EMR, within your scheduling system. And you're able then to identify what's the average or the typical number of appointments per month. Okay. There's going to be variations through the year, but the snapshot is very powerful when you're able to average those numbers out. Some of this stuff you might want to obviously do after the course of the presentation here today, but just fill in the numbers that you know. And then other metrics that are going to be helpful are going to be the average ticket, the average value, the average transaction per patient, the average sales conversation, the appointment show rates. What are the lead to scheduled appointment, and what is your average cost per lead? Don't worry if you don't have all of that data. These are data points that you will want to maintain a solid grasp on in 2026, because when you can understand if you're paying for marketing, for example, or advertising, what is that cost per marketing lead? And what is the cost to get a scheduled appointment? What is the show rate? And then you're able to, as we'll go through, start to really scale your marketing for the benefit of your business and the benefit of your practice. Let me know if everybody's tracking so far. Just give me a yes in the chat if you can, if we're on the same page, or if you have any questions. And we'll also do a Q&A at the end as well. So we can definitely go deeper at the end. So if you have some questions, perhaps that might take a bit of time, make sure we cover those on the end as well. Okay, cool. We're getting some yeses in the chat here. So once we have the current snapshot, now we want to look at what is our 2026 goal. Okay. We've got a baseline. We've got a starting point. And I presume everybody is here because they want to do better. They want to grow. There's a growth goal. So what does that look like? When you have your average monthly revenue and you multiply that by your 12, what does your annual revenue look like? What is that new monthly revenue target that you're going to hit? How many appointments per month is that going to break down to? How many new patient consults per month is that going to equal? And then for certainly on the aesthetic side, for any practices here that are offering memberships, maybe you have a membership program, maybe you've got some members in it, maybe you're looking to get it off the ground. Is that going to be a part of your strategy, your play? Are you going to have members? If so, how many? What does that number look like? Creating those tangible numbers are going to enable you to shoot towards a solid goal. And really importantly, and if you're a Tony Robbins fan or just in general when it comes to goal setting, it's important to have the goals and the numbers to shoot towards, but also crucially important to understand the why. What's the reason that you're looking to grow that business? This is kind of the fun stuff, right? This is where typically there's going to be a reason of growing because there's income associated with that. There's lifestyle, there's family, there's impact within the community, there's legacy, there's self-actualization. There's a lot of different components there. There's satisfaction. There's multiple different things. Your reasons, your why will probably, very possibly be different from some of the other attendees here and some of the other people that are completing this workshop, because everybody has unique reasons and motivations to doing what they're doing. Okay. But don't skip out on that. That's going to be your North Star that will bring you back. And that's going to enable you to sometimes make those difficult decisions, to have those tough conversations, and to do what you need to do from a leadership standpoint in order to achieve your goals. Okay. When it comes to tracking these goals and using a tool and calculating, we actually created a new tool my team did here, which is our revenue growth target planner. So what you're seeing on the screen here is it's a snapshot of that. And if you go to calculator.clinicgrower.com, I'm also going to put that in the chat here. That's going to bring you to the calculator. Let me know if you got that link. If you can open it up, it should function well for you on both mobile and desktop. And so the revenue growth target planner, I'm a very much a spreadsheet guy. My wife will tease me about that. I love a good spreadsheet with formulas in order to track and to do mathematical equations and formulas to help us reach goals. Give me a quick thumbs up. Anybody else here is a spreadsheet nerd? Don't leave me hanging. And really what we've done is we've been able to use this calculator. We've created it in order to provide a tool that's much, much easier. Instead of going to cell A6 and D4 and making your changes and maybe breaking a sheet and then perhaps not using it, this tool you can refer to, and it's available in real time for you so that you can update numbers, you can enter your unique numbers. And with the tool, what we're going to walk through here is you're going to have a revenue goal. And so the way that I like to use this here on the workshops is to think about what's that additional revenue target? What's that growth goal look like? And are you looking to add an additional $750,000 over the course of the year, for example? Okay. And I'm just going to use some arbitrary numbers on the workshop here today. So if you're looking to add 750K, then that's going to break down to an additional 62,500 per month. I'll say if it's a million, it's going to be that 83.3 mark. Okay. This is important to understand. What's your average patient transaction value? Okay. From the patient appointments that you have, okay, which is going to be those slots of time that occupy the schedules and the calendars, what is the average transaction that's coming from those? We're adding that new revenue. You've already got your baseline, they're adding that new revenue. What does that look like? Is your average transaction, is it $650? Is it $1,400? If anyone's comfortable dropping that in the chat, I can use some real numbers here. Obviously, you can within the tool itself. For this purpose, we're going to use that average transaction value of about $650. Okay. Or I know there's plenty of us here that are, we're generating $1,500 plus for an average transaction. Let's just use the 750 as a nice equal number. That's going to mean that you're going to need to have a monthly 112 transactions. So 112 new transactions at $750. That's going to get you to the revenue goal. Okay. If you're doing 21 working days or treatment days per month, that's going to equal 6 sales, 6 transactions, 6 new transactions per day that you want to add at that average value of 750. Obviously, the variables here are going to be the value, the transaction value, and then also from the consult to treatment. So for when your team is across from a new patient who's come in and they've perhaps come in from a referral, maybe they're from your marketing, and if they're coming in for a service, it's going to be very high consultation. It's going to be a very high conversion rate. Perhaps they're coming in for a specific offer. You're going to convert near to 100%. Or, in many cases, it is someone's coming in for that new patient consultation. They're new to the area. They've heard about you. They want to come in. You're going to recommend that treatment plan. Regardless, we do recommend that consultation. I know a lot of you are doing defined treatment plans. We're going to go into more detail on that during the presentation. That's going to be the key to getting those repeat visits and obviously growing that revenue. But from a consultation to treatment, let's say we're doing about 70%. That means that you're going to need 160 new appointments every month. Okay. 160 per month in order to reach that target. Let me know if everybody's tracking, if that makes sense. I'll take a quick breather. Again, you plug in your numbers, you'll have access to this tool. It's linked in the workbook. Okay, great. Thank you. Looks like we're tracking along here. So use that tool. That's going to enable you to really get clarity on where you need to be from that growth standpoint. As you raise the transaction value, you won't need to have as many new appointments. As you build those memberships, right, that's going to be recurring revenue. So these variables, they will change, but this tool is an awesome opportunity for you to have that snapshot. Okay. Now, there's also a secondary part of the tool here, and we're just going to jump into our presentation here, and this is going to be on page 5 for you. So on page 5 of your workbook, there's also information on what the follow-on step from that is within the calculator. And that means that we're going to now be looking at the tab here, which is the budget planner. Okay. And this budget planner, essentially, this is going to break it down into more of a manageable process for you. And so with that revenue goal of, we left off at $1 million, okay, the annual revenue target. Okay. And let's say we have a marketing, I think it was AmSpa recently recommended one of their publications. They recommend typically between 7 to 12%. And most small businesses in America are averaging around that 10%. It's going to depend on the stage of your business. When you're in the early stages, there's a more aggressive budget, or certainly if you're in that growth period, you're looking to really grow fast, a more aggressive percentage of your revenue towards marketing is going to be appropriate. In this case, we've got an 8%, or if we did a just nice round 10% here, that's going to be $8,300 from an overall marketing budget. At Clinic Grower and my company, we specialize in digital marketing and patient acquisition, but I'm never going to be here to say, hey, you have to go all in digital marketing. I think that there should be more diversity to a marketing plan. And we're going to talk about that here as well. So with the monthly marketing budget, you're going to want to allocate. Okay. So you're going to want to allocate a percentage towards your online marketing. And let's say your online marketing percentage is 70%. And today, a lot of budgets are, within that 60 to, sometimes a lot more than that, like 90% relative to offline. So what's your offline marketing going to be? Well, that's going to be perhaps your events, the kids' school, perhaps. It's going to be some of those luxury magazines in your area. You already know those offline opportunities because many of you are doing them. When it comes to the repeat business, that's going to be your repeat gifting for clients, for example. It's going to be part of your reward programs. It's about developing that relationship with existing patients to get them back in. And so you want to make sure that you do have an allocation of budget towards that, because it's about 11 times more expensive to get a new client, a new patient, than it is to retain an existing one. And we all know the power and the importance of retention. Okay. So let me know if you're tracking there. Let me know if this is helpful. If you can drop a thumbs up, or this is awesome in the chat. This is a new tool that we've created. Again, just much less cumbersome than sometimes a heavy spreadsheet. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Maria. What we're going to do now is we are going to just take a look at, okay, how further is that broken down? So you've got the allocations for online marketing, you've got the offline marketing, and you've got the repeat business. What you want to do now then is allocate portions of that towards, you've got a paid ads budget. You're going to want to devote some of that towards SEO, for example. You're going to want to devote a portion of that towards your social media, and you're going to want to devote a portion of that towards some other marketing as well. And so when you do that, you plug your numbers in here. We've got a 40 paid ads, for example, 30% SEO, 20% social media, and then 10% is going to be some other portions of marketing that will break down for you into a monthly level. And that's just going to create your overall budget. From there, you can use this tool. You can use it as your Northern Star. You can use it to keep the budgets in place and track against what you're actually spending. And you can also, copy and paste this. And if you would like access to some of the spreadsheets we have, we're more than happy to send them along as well. Just let us know through communication after the presentation here. Okay, cool. So we've got the budgetary stuff done, the fun stuff. Okay. Anybody here, let me know if you already have your budgeting for 2026 done, or if this is coming at a timely interval for you doing this particular presentation and workshop. Okay, and these really they aren't super hard numbers to calculate, but sometimes just having that tool, having that time, really sitting down to understand what that mix is looking like and keeping it practical, it's going to help to remove that kind of that potential overwhelm, or the potential of it actually not happening and you just hitting the ground running without actually having a plan in place going into 2026. Okay. So we pulled that up live. We took a look at the tools. We got the calculator. We had a look at a couple of tabs here. So what we're going to do next is we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the strategy and really getting into what 2026 needs to look like when it comes to goals, how many leads and appointments. You've got those on the calculators right there. We're now going to get into some of the marketing strategy, some of the fun stuff. And when it comes to marketing strategy, I'm kind of going to do maybe a little bit of a crash course on some of the newer items here that we have when it comes to different marketing components. And I want you to understand what they are, so that when it comes to your marketing budget, you'll understand what you can deploy and what those financial resources can be used for, because you've got options out there, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do with your budget. So today I want to help you to understand more about what those options and opportunities are, and then what type of results that you can expect to get, and some of the nuances with different components to those marketing strategy components that we'll get through. Okay. Now, there's kind of, as we break it down within our programs, there's kind of five main pillars when it comes to a business growth model towards strategic marketing plan. And number one is we've got to drive that demand. Okay. We've got to get those inquiries coming in. We've got to have the phone ringing. We've got to have the text messages coming in, the schedules being full. And to do that, we need to have leads. And so we call it our lead seduction process or attracting leads. Okay. And we're going to want to figure out the channels that we're going to use in order to do that, in order to get the schedules full and in order to get the engagements that we're looking for. Okay. Also, what we're looking at is the appointment scheduling. Inquiries coming in. Okay. Ideally, we want to get warm bodies into the office. We want to get those butts in the seats. But having that conversation, having those appointments scheduled, that's the first step. And then we need to have those patients coming in. Okay. So as they say, no show, no mo. We want to make sure that we have that congruency with the leads being generated, the new patient journey from scheduling to patients coming in. And of course, that's when the magic happens. That's when now we're talking about conversion. That's when we're talking about maximizing the show rates, increasing sales from that sales conversion. And when we have these components in alignment, when we've got the leads coming through, when we've got the appointments being scheduled, we've got the appointments showing up, we've got the conversions. Now we're enabled, and with the tools you have to track, it's about scaling. It's about what other levers can you pull? What other buttons can you press in order to do more of what's working and to scale those results and inevitably grow your business and grow your practice? And so, one of the first milestones really, or the fundamentals, is organic. I'll always tell clients and folks that I speak with and consult with that take advantage of the quote unquote the free stuff, the organic. And your organic is going to be things such as your website, your SEO, but also your organic social media as well. And first and foremost, we want to be able to take advantage of that, because you're not necessarily paying for a click when it comes to the organic. And typically they're going to produce the highest leads as well, because you've put the content out there, you're developing that topical authority, you've got the website, the search engine optimization is doing its job, the organic social media is engaging, and you've got people that are checking it out. And it's kind of like that invisible hand at play until they take action and maybe click to come to your website, or they click that social media video, they check out your feed, and now they're getting warmed up. They're getting to know, like, and trust you. They're researching you a little bit online. And then they decide to make the decision to reach out. Okay. We want to make sure to have a really strong foundation from an organic standpoint. And in 2026, what we're going to continue to see is there is a lot of new tools, new platforms, and new things happening when it comes to online and search engine optimization. And so, what does SEO, or what is it going to look like in 2026? Well, there's a lot of different terminology out there right now. As AI has really been a massive boon and explosive during 2025. You're probably hearing terms such as AEO, EEO, SEO, AI SEO. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is all this stuff? Okay. Well, what we're learning about these different terms is that I like to call them search everywhere optimization, because people are finding your business. They're finding services in many, many different ways. And I also don't want these terminologies, these acronyms, to provide any confusion. So AEO is simply answer everything optimization. And really what that means, if you're asking Siri, or if you're asking Alexa, for example, or you're going to the search engine, you're asking questions, that's where you're really starting to see the snippets and some of those answers pop up. Okay. And GEO, or generative engine optimization, that's where it's going a little broader. It's kind of those content models within ChatGPT, Gemini, those types of tools. And really the key difference is going to be, if you think about it from a simple standpoint, is those Google snippets versus the multiple AI tools, some of them that I just mentioned. There is some convergence there, and we're starting to see that these are becoming very important. Sometimes web traffic in for established businesses that are used to very high traffic, they've seen certain dips due to people consumer behavior changing. And so we want to make sure we know where the fish are swimming to. Okay. We want to make sure that we know where people are spending their time. When it comes to really understanding it, on the screen here, if anybody is looking at it and has an opportunity to see it in more detail, there's a couple of screenshots. And the one on the right, the lower right, is That is for Gemini. It's actually Gemini browser that I have here on the computer. And when doing a search for what is the best med spa in Heath, Ohio, so just insert what is the best med spa or who should I see for X treatment within your area. When you do those searches, the LLMs, the large language models, they're essentially using data that is being aggregated at massive amounts in real time and historically as well from a reference standpoint. And they're looking at things that are really important that we're going to touch on next. The kind of the old school SEO, if you will. All these things feed in together, but it's a very real phenomenon that the LLMs, the AI tools, are now making those recommendations right inside of your chat GPT. You don't need to go to the website. It's going to make a recommendation. It's going to display a map. On the back here, what you're seeing is when you go to Google and you type for what is the best med spa, for example, in Marietta, California, well, the AI overview, that AI snippet is recommending a practice. It's recommending a practice within the area. And then we're also seeing that the Google Maps, those local listings that are very important for getting that phone call, they're going to be displayed within that second position as well. So just from the real estate standpoint, it's important to understand what is happening when consumers are now searching online. And it has been changing. So we're keeping an eye on it, of course. But what we're able to do is when we understand what's happening and the reasoning and the ingredients that go into it, we're able to take action. Okay. And that's what I want to help you do here on the workshop today. Okay. And so when it comes to understanding, what that looks like in a couple of different nuance areas as well, this is inside of ChatGPT on the left. And this would be who is the best plastic surgeon near area. Again, what's really interesting is it's providing information on it's being very descriptive on the information that's going into it based on public reviews, credentials, local reputation. So that's hinting at some of the ingredients that are needed in order to rank in those areas and to be recommended by the AI. Okay. As you can see, really important to have really good images, to have really good assets available online so that the LLM, so that AI can find them and display them. And it will definitely rate those as well. If this wasn't a great image and if the reviews weren't so good, and if the Dr. Rios didn't have such great content on his website, he wouldn't be displayed that number one position. Similarly, for on the back here, it's more related to vein practices within Los Angeles with best vein doctor in Youngstown, Ohio, for example. Similarly, we see the AI snippets. We're seeing what Gemini is doing in this case. And so just be aware, it's going to be great homework for you to do that for your business, for your services, and to understand what your local market looks like. Let me know if that makes sense. I want to just take a quick pulse check here. Make sure we're all tracking along. Okay, great. All right, awesome. Okay, cool. So the question then becomes, does SEO still matter? Is everything that we've been doing, over the last decade, longer than that, does it still matter? How has that changed? And the answer is yes, everything still matters because it all feeds together. And so when it comes to the traditional SEO really fitting in together, this is where those core components. Number one, having a really good website, a really good web presence, a web presence that it's fast, it's clean, there's page speed, you've got mobile optimization, there's interactivity, making sure that user experience is really good. So just make sure that your digital storefront, your online presence is not only does it look great to the consumer, to the patient, to the user, but that it feels great in respect of that experience, and also that it really is great on the back end as well. The schema is in place, that there's everything is in the right place. Essentially, I won't bore you with all the technical details from an SEO standpoint, but if you would like to, to obviously to have a diagnostic done on your SEO presence, we're more than happy to do that as well. Some of the other components that are still reigning true going into 2026 is going to be that content's relevance. Okay. And so that is really tied to the topical authority. What type of content are you writing? What type of blogs have you got on the website? What are the services that are listed, especially when a patient is searching for Botox or they're searching for vein treatment or they're searching for blepharoplasty or rhinoplasty or the service that they're looking for. You want to have that content and not just an article from 6 years ago, but something that's really updated on the website, on that Google business profile, so that the AI, as it's now searching for the best content to provide to its users, that you're one of those businesses in your area that is leading by example, shall we say. Okay, and the example here, We're seeing that there's a couple of articles on the website. We want to make sure that these are basically checking the box of the expertise, the experience, that trustworthiness, and the authority that comes with that that Google looks at. Okay. This is where you want to have the video content as well, like really good video, really good visuals on the practice, any explainers that you have, answer everything optimization, having good FAQs on the website, for example, to answer those questions that patients are asking you, the practice, but also searching for online. And the LLMs are looking for that as well. The AI tools are looking for that. So making sure that you're keeping regular updates and that you've got a really good strategy when it comes to SEO for your practice is going to be very, very important. Also, the some of the local aspects, just that visibility, that map visibility. And what you're seeing on the screen here is an example of, on the right hand side, of that Google business profile, that free real estate that Google provides you with in order to be seen and be found online, where you can put your pictures, where patients leave you reviews, of course, you know what that is. And some of the key practices here with the Google business profile are going to be, again, regular updates, using that, doing the posts, the articles on that Google business profile. It's going to be making sure that the product section is completed, that you're really maximizing that tool for what it is. And also the name, address, phone number, that there's really good consistency within those details online as well. So here's just an example, a good example of one of the clients that we worked with, good chemistry, and just how the map ranking is such a powerful play in their marketing strategy. 42% of local searches involve clicks on that Google map. So just making sure that you've got a presence, making sure that you've got a strategy as well to be found for the types of services that you're looking for. We use tools to assess how competition is doing in a marketplace, so that we can help you to rank above that competition. If you're interested in that, of course, you can reach out after the workshop here today. This isn't going to be a veiled sales pitch in any stretch of the imagination, but I want you to know that we're here and we're available to support in many ways when it comes to helping you to understand your visibility and to understand what you need to do in order to move into 2026 with effectiveness. When it comes to the things you need to know about SEO, well, really it's down to, there's the new tools are available in the marketplace, the AI tools that we just discussed, AEO and GEO, but Google still is king. So make sure that you're not neglecting Google. Don't get obsessed about the AI. It is important to understand it, but again, just to reiterate, a lot of the things that you should already be doing with the Google business profile optimization, having a really good website, having great content and frequent content on that website, city pages, right? So in your area, if you're wondering, hey, we're in Tampa, Florida, we want to get more patients from Brandon. Well, you should have a city page that's relative to Brandon, or that neighborhood that you can think about that you want to get more patients from, right? Have a city page for that. Have really good service pages. All these things are crucial, and they are going to tie in. They're going to be the ingredients that get you ranked within the AI tools that we're seeing today as well. This also means, that basically, as we're saying here, you need to show up in both places. But focusing on Google, focus on the foundational items that we've just been discussing. That's going to give you the springboard that you need in order to be ranked in the AI tools. This is 2026 we're talking about. As we do this next year, things will change, and we'll address those accordingly as well. But just really staying in tune what's happening is going to be very important. So kind of like the new SEO formula in 2026, again, basic items here, but they sometimes change with some of the consumer behavior changes. So understanding what are some of the most important keywords? What are some of the most important keywords for your area, for patients searching for your services in your market? Making sure you do have that great website, okay? Making sure that there's nothing broken on the website. If something is, make sure it's fixed very, very quickly. Ensuring that there's a really good content strategy. Making sure that there's pages, like I said, for each city. And also that the experience is really smooth for the user, that they just feel at home, that website. We want to make sure that they stay there. One of the tools that didn't make it to the bullet points here as well is actually leveraging AI tools on the website. So for our client websites, we've been rolling out an AI patient coordinator, one that actually engages with the online user, answers questions, uses chat AI features, generative AI features, and conversational AI in order to respond and to engage that patient in conversation, keep them on the page, and then point them to resources within the website. So you're keeping that patient in the ecosystem and really acting as that virtual patient concierge, and AI tools are enabling us to do that for practices. And that's extremely powerful right now as well. There's also the need to make sure that we're still staying up with some of those speed aspects when the website page loads, making sure that it loads fast. Some of those core vitals, again, the name, the address, phone number, on page optimization. I promised my SEO team that I wouldn't go too far down the rabbit hole here, but it's things like the headlines, image optimization, keywords, page titles, internal linking, all those components. And then also from the external standpoint, making sure there's really good offsite SEO, off page SEO. That's where you get those authority press releases, for example, those guest blogs, those types of things, and also tracking results that we'll cover in more detail during the course of the workshop here as well. Okay. Within the workbook, there is a section on this as well. So I just want to make sure I'm referring to that. We've got the website review. There's an SEO review here as well. I really encourage everybody to do that either as we're on the workshop here or to obviously do this, after. Set some time, book out that hour for yourself to do that self-assessment so that you can understand the actions that need to be taken in order to make progress in these different areas. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, if you would like any help with this, if you would like an action plan, if you would like us to do a review, we're able to do the analysis of your online activity. We'll be able to create that local visual for you from a heat map standpoint. We'll be able to find those top keywords, run a map ranking report. We provide you with a competitive analysis as part of that as well. We can also do analysis of your social presence. We do all this at complements, just in order to make sure we're delivering value, welcoming those new conversations, finding any hidden opportunities that you have within your marketplace. And of course, we can put together a complementary growth plan if that's appropriate and that makes sense as well. So for anybody who does decide to use the link, which is clinicor.com/schedule, or you can text or call. What's going to happen then is our team will speak with you. It's a no obligation, just a conversation, no pressure. There's no high pressure sales here, but really to understand what you need. We'll provide those diagnostics for you so that if we can help, we'll talk about that. If you want to use them yourself, high five, you can absolutely use those tools and use them for your benefit as well. Okay. So we're going to move through and talk a little bit more now about some of the other components of the overall marketing plan. And we're going to get into some of the paid ad campaigns because we work a lot in paid ads here at Clinicor. Once we have the foundations built for a client with website, with SEO, once that's rolling, or we've done a takeover for a client, a lot of businesses, a lot of our practices benefit from the paid advertising as well, having that mix as part of the plan. And things that I often see reasons why campaigns have failed in the past or they've stalled, or when we're doing audits on client ad accounts, for example, typically it's going to revolve around some of the points here, which is going to be number one, just that lack of a cohesive strategy. Talk to clients a lot about, what is the goal? What type of, if you couldn't get, 50 patients for all of your service at the same time, what if we just sort of broke it down to a top 3 to 5? What if we went a little bit deeper on that focus for the types of treatments, the types of services that you're looking to grow now, and then expanded it later? What would that look like? And I think it's important for you to think like that as well, especially if there's certain services that you've identified that you want to see growth in, is have a cohesive strategy. And then when it comes to the advertising, have a very direct ad that's talking about that service, a direct ad that's talking about the landing page. It's bringing them to the landing page. It's got a very congruent journey for the online user so they can convert. Mistakes I see being made are where there's very general ads, it goes to a very general page or a very general web page, and that's just all the time losing percentages from a conversion standpoint. So when someone is searching for breast augmentation or mommy makeover, for example, then bringing them on a guided journey to talk more about that, about the details, about the benefits, and give them the opportunity to reach out there is going to be more beneficial for you than being very, very general. Okay, from a service standpoint. Of course, there are branded ad campaigns just for your practice that you can bring to more general pages. But again, just reasons why we see ad campaigns fail is that lack of strategy. Also, an incorrect setup, for example, that means that there's not the correct keywords in place or negative keywords, pixels aren't set up, failure to optimize for results. So optimization objectives and Facebook, for example, there's a new rollout in Facebook in the last 6 months called Andromeda. What that has meant is that there's just different targeting criteria. There's different ways to target. It's actually more about creative. It's more about using the objectives, using the ad campaigns. And it's really been interesting within that platform, but it's understanding that. It's understanding how the platforms work and when they change, understanding what those changes are. And sometimes we even see from other ad agencies, they don't keep up with that. And then we'll do diagnostics and many times find quick wins that are available. It's also about not being boring, just avoiding boring ad copy. Don't be very general, be a bit more specific, especially in the aesthetic space. Be fun, be vibrant, yes, be educational, but let's make sure that we're inspiring patients. That can be done on your social media, on your website. Okay, education is important, but people today really love edutainment. Okay, they're looking to be educated, but they want to be inspired as well. Big no-no is not having an offer, some form of an offer in place, a call to action when you're running those ads. If you're running paid ads, there should be some call to action, whether it's to, to watch the video, to, book an appointment, whether it's to call, whether it's to book that appointment directly. And also, I think a lot of people here experience, folks that I speak with, is when that lead comes in 2026, that speed to lead, making sure that that person, that opportunity is followed up with as soon as possible is absolutely crucial. And so just a quick sort of litmus test when it comes to, we're going to look at some Google ads here. Which ad would you click? This is a person who's doing a search for mommy makeover, best mommy makeover in Tampa, for example, where we got our headquarters. Okay. So you got a couple of options. One on the left, there's one on the right. I said these are displaying within the rankings, the Google ads. Which one would you click on? Just love to get some feedback. If anyone has the opportunity to check this out, take a moment and just provide your honest feedback. No social experiments here. What we most commonly find is that option B. Okay, we'll get feedback that yes, option B, we're going to click on that more. And reasons probably being that option A on the left here is it's much more general. Okay, in fact, when someone was searching for best mommy makeover, it's actually popping up with an ad that's talking about tummy tuck. So, yes, there could be related services, but it's not being very specific. It's being a little bit too broad here. Okay. So the click for that search is highly likely going to be going towards best mommy makeover in Tampa, where there's also more of a compelling offer. There's really some good copy here that's validating, that's providing the credentials. It's really building the reputation of the practices with over 10,000 procedures done. Also leveraging the additional real estate through some of the site links and extensions and the phone number as well. So just again, not every Google ad is created equally. These ingredients, the offer, the way the ads are built, extremely important. On Meta, going into 2026, we spoke about video a little bit earlier. And I just mentioned the Andromeda update on the platform. Things to know about, obviously things that we can help to educate you more on. What is more important now than ever has been is the creative. There's years ago, we'll say we started business in 2017, back in 2017, 2018, when there was much more fresh playing field on some of these ad platforms. It was, consumers would click on a static image. You could get that lead for a lot less. Today, there's more competition. There's also changing consumer behavior. So having an engaging, attention grabbing ad is crucial. Having that really compelling ad copy that grabs your attention, maybe calls you out, the person that you are, the position that you're in, for example. Maybe that's a working mom in Chicago or soccer mom in Philadelphia, these types of things, busy working women. So whatever that sort of affiliation is, someone who's about to have a wedding, for example, these are very real ways to grab that attention and stop somebody in their tracks because that's them. They're not just, hey, or we are providing these services. No, it's more about them. So we want to really remember that when we're creating those ad copies. Having a strong call to action. The example on the right that you'll see is a video. It's videos within Meta start playing in your feed automatically. So obviously that's very engaging. There's a specific offer here. In this case, it's for liposuction. So we're letting that viewer know about that. And then there's ad copy that goes through the longer form formats to get a little bit more specific and to really identify versus a little bit more of a billboard on the left, something that's a bit more general. Okay. It's got a phone number. You've got the description of the service, but the video ad on the right is going to get more attention and really get those clicks. Okay. So some of the fundamentals of ad campaigns, of winning ad campaigns, again, a lot of these components are in the workbook, but it's going to be about having that targeted audience. It's about having a clear message, articulating that clear message for the user. it's also about that engaging content that we looked at, the video content or imagery, some authentic imagery of you and your team, of the staff actually works very well also. It's about those conversion optimized landing pages, that journey that you lead patients through, building trust with any accreditations, credentials that you have, the call to action, the button on the website, very clear, doing testing, A/B testing those landing pages, very, very important. And on the back end, that's where your analytics and your tracking is crucial as well. Okay. Not going to go too much into this because we're covering quite a little bit of ground on video. This has just been some affirmative information from 2025 from a report that nearly 70%, probably more than that right now, of online users, they're engaging, but they're sharing that video when it's authentic, when there's some form of connection, they're sharing it, they're engaging with it. And we can see through the lens of some of these platforms from different demographic standpoint, just how important video is. I think everybody here understands the power of video. If anybody's creating their own video consistently here, just drop a little video chat in the comment. It's always helpful to understand who's actively embracing that. But I can't reiterate the importance, even with some of the older demographics here, just looking at Instagram and Facebook, 65% of that demographic is using and sharing video on the platforms of Instagram and Facebook, of that boomer demographic, for example. What type of video should we use? Well, when we're on the platforms, on Meta and Instagram, for example, it's going to be video that is educational, it's inspirational. We've got a video playing here, for example, with Dr. Chang, and that video is educating a patient on a vein screening, for example. The other types of formats that work very well are its content with patient testimonial, for example, the examples of different services, busting the myth. And this example here is busting that Botox myth, but just real examples, real authentic. And a lot of the case, it doesn't have to take a Hollywood video. It just takes a good lighting situation, a good audio situation, and having that authentic content that connects with the patient. Okay. Once we've paid, or once you've essentially invested some of that budget, right, that hard-earned capital into marketing and into advertising, you always want to make sure that it's working as hard as it can for you. And a mistake that I often see businesses make is that they don't have a retargeting strategy set up. And so as you're going to the workshop today, we really encourage you to, if you haven't already, is to set up your account within the platforms, within Facebook, within Instagram, TikTok, within AdRoll, for example, a little bit more advanced, but just to get those accounts set up and to get that pixel set up, which is simply a piece of code that you can then use and put it on your website. When people then come to visit your website, you can use that pixel in order to retarget. We love doing that for our clients because it creates that sort of omnipresence and that feeling that they are everywhere. And in 26, that's going to become more and more important, is to be able to really nurture and to stay in front of, and I like to call it that celebrity status, create that celebrity status in front of your ideal patients. So in the image here, for example, you're just seeing what some of those pixels look like. There's a pixel helper that we can provide. If you're wondering if the pixels are set up on your website, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to help you with that on a call as well. Okay. So what is all of these components that we've been through so far? The website, the SEO, traffic that's coming, the new leads that are coming through from Facebook, from Instagram, without the power of analytics. So having really good analytics, having good dashboards in place, performance tracking, absolutely crucial. There's obviously Google Analytics is available, but there's also a number of different CRMs that are available in order to track that. Without that, there's going to be just a lack of understanding. We spoke earlier about the analogy with the ship that's stalled within the doldrums. It doesn't have a clear direction. Well, your marketing performance can really stall if there's not analytics in place, if there isn't a clear understanding of what's working and what's not. And perhaps there's missed opportunities because you're not focusing on what is working. And then there's things that aren't working so well that are just sucking up and spending budget and providing an inefficient use of that marketing. So we're always big proponents of, if you're advertising on Meta, and I know a lot of you here are already, then make sure that you've got those dashboards within Meta, Facebook, and Instagram set up correctly, that you've got the pillars in the right place, you're able to read that data, or someone on your team who's managing that is, because that's really crucial. The platform itself feeds off data. It's going to optimize based off the signals it's getting. And so just making sure that you've got the KPIs in place from a reach standpoint, understanding how many impressions you're generating, but and really more importantly is understanding the number of leads that you're getting, how many opportunities the ad platform is generating for you, and the cost per lead, which then also parlays into the appointments being scheduled. How many appointments are being scheduled directly from those ads that you're running on those platforms, if that's part of the objective. Okay. We'll also talk a little bit about CRM and different items that you're able to use to take that to a different degree. Some of the key data points to track are going to be your conversion rate, the cost per acquisition or CPA. This is going to help you to understand the cost to acquire patients, and that's obviously going to help you to scale. And we're talking about scaling your business. The ROI, return on investment. So the calculator that you had earlier to break down the marketing spend, when you use that and as you track the results from your ad campaigns, applying the results you're getting from those specific platforms. Let's say you're getting 40 new patients a month from your website at SEO and 25 from your Facebook ads. Then understanding the ad spend that goes, the spend, marketing spend from a website and SEO standpoint, and the spend from an ad campaign standpoint. They're not, one isn't necessarily always better than the other because there's different caps. A lot of the time, your SEO can kind of go so far, it may not be scalable to some point, and then understanding, when it makes sense to increase the ad spend. But when you know what you're spending, when you have those budgets in place and you're tracking the results, that's what enables you to scale those ad campaigns, especially when you understand what the patient lifetime value is. And when we talk about the patient lifetime value, I want to really emphasize the importance of understanding for your business what that is. We spoke earlier about getting that repeat visit. Okay. No one here wants to get a patient into the office for once for, 50 units and then maybe never see them again. We want to get them into the office for an amazing experience. We want them to enroll in a treatment plan. We want to see them in 2 weeks for any touch ups. We want to speak to them sooner than that so they're in a relationship. They're coming in for a vein procedure. We want to have them in. We want to make sure that they've had a great outcome. We want to have that communication with them. When you do that, understanding then what your referrals are from those patients. For every 100 patients you have, are you getting 20 referrals? Is it 30 referrals? Tracking those items is really important to track your lifetime value. From the lifetime value also, if an average patient is spending, this is why averages are very important. If they're spending $3,000 over the course of a year, then you know that the value of that patient is more than just that first transaction. So when you're spending maybe $200, $150 to get a patient in, then look a little bit further than that $450 or $750 transaction so that you can see the value in rolling out the red carpet for that patient to get them back for that second visit, that third year, that fourth year of their relationship. Let me know if that makes sense. I want to make sure everybody's tracking so far. We're getting deep into it here. I want to make sure I'm delivering top value. And we are going to keep moving forward. We're going to talk about some of the components that are really important when it comes to helping to create more effectiveness from the marketing that you're doing. So we're going to talk a little bit about website, chat widgets, some of the components on the websites. We want all of our websites to look like $1 million websites and also to convert like kings. And so research was showing that about 75% of consumers that are engaging with websites, they now prefer to have those private messaging versus a phone call, for example, as that first interaction. And chat widgets, if you don't have one on your website, you're potentially missing out on about 1 in 5 or 17% of engagements, additional engagements, because they're so effective, they grab attention, and it provides that opportunity to connect with that patient, especially when there's speed to lead on the back end. And so in the examples on the page here, what you're seeing is the chat widget that pops up on the bottom right-hand side, and it immediately engages with the patient once they enter their details, okay? These things are working tremendously. I still see practices that don't have them, and the main reason that a lot of practices don't have them from discussions is that they believe that the patient needs to have an agent, like a live person right behind the computer. And while that would be great, right, in every instance, it's not always necessary. Just having a really good communication process, some really good AI, and being very transparent with that patient and having a good rollover process so when a human can come on board, that it's very seamless. But there's more benefit to having that tool on the website to engage with patients versus not having it at all, okay? Online scheduling. So massive, massive convenience for patients in order to fill schedules more and more. Just having that one tool, online scheduling available, absolutely crucial. That was on our checklist. If you don't have online scheduling, the question would be really, why not? Are you picking perhaps a different scheduling system? But giving patients the opportunity to select their time and appreciate where they are on the new patient journey is crucial. From your online presence on the website, and here's a good example of 40 Faces, just having those calls to action, nice and clean. This is a very warm, inviting website, really with the personalities of the team. They want to attract the right type of patient. They want to, they want you, the patient, to know, like, and trust them before they come in, which we always want to create that experience of affinity and that celebrity status before patients come in. And also just having a great user experience in the form of they can book now. They can they can make that phone call, for example. They can learn more information, of course, but just providing that really, really strong user experience. There is within the workbook a checklist relative to some of the critical elements to enhance on your website. Won't go down through all of it here because we've been through them in a little bit more detail, but just make sure that you do follow along with those within the workbook as well. When it comes to the marketing components, we've gone through the trouble of creating that beautiful website, working on it. We're constantly updating it. We're creating content. The search engine optimization is performing. You've got the generative AI and the search AdWord optimization performing. The paid ads are doing their job. Important next is the ability to connect with those patients, all those leads that are coming through. A big mistake that still gets made by a lot of businesses is the lead comes through and the hot lead, that patient that's looking for something to connect with somebody now, they they stall. There's not a response. And that's when the question becomes, is lead flow the problem? And it can be if you're overspending on ads and not following up with the leads quick enough. It can also be a problem if there's generally not a good follow up system in place for leads. And so we want to make sure that there really is speed to lead. And a common problem is that there's lead leakage in most businesses. AI tools can really help. Staff training really helps in these situations. And from the data that we've been able to gather, an average of 36% of calls or inquiries go unresponded. We're looking at the universe of businesses. Some it's obviously worse, for some it's a lot less, but that's a massive number of calls or inquiries to go unresponded to. And here's why: because in 2026, the world is moving at a ferocious pace. Leads that are coming through and aren't followed up within 15 minutes, they're going very cold, especially if this is during office hours. Okay. Patients they're looking for that quick response, they're looking for engagement, and they're looking to communicate in different ways also through SMS, through the website, through Facebook, through Google, through Instagram. The list goes on. And so there was a study a number of years ago that I've presented quite a few times. It's the impact of speed to call on conversion. And so what we're seeing here is that you're almost four times more likely, 391% more likely to connect and to convert that lead if you're connecting with them within that first minute. It's almost instantaneous, right? But we always want that to answer a phone call as soon as possible, to follow up with that lead, especially when it's peak interest time for them. And then as it goes down past that 3 minute mark, that's when the conversion starts to dip below 100%. If you're reaching them 3 minutes or less, you're in a strong conversion percentage. You're much more likely to convert them versus 30 minutes later. The numbers have halved right down to 5 hours later. You're playing that follow-up game. You're playing that chasing game. You've got to really get after it. And so the onus really is on being able to handle inbound leads as soon as possible, because every minute that drifts by after that, you're basically losing an opportunity. The solution, and think all businesses in 2026 really need to have a solution for automation, for following up. We can no longer rely on sticky notes and assuming that team members are following up with all the calls and all the text messages. It's very easy. There's really not many excuses, if you will, not to have a good automation solution at a minimum. And then there's different AI solutions that you can bolt on top of that as well. Conversational AI that can be quite easily trained in order to mirror the voice of your team and engage that patient to be and have a handoff or a warm transfer to a team member, or to provide their information and let that patient know that, thank you so much, we've now got your name, your phone number, your information, we know what you're looking for, and we're going to be able to follow up with you. Okay. And we can see here that, from a follow-up standpoint, if that lead isn't followed up with and spoken to and connected with within minutes, then you need to follow up a number of times. And we have a protocol internally that leads are followed up with a minimum of 6 times in the first couple of days, just to make sure that we're trying people at different intervals and different hours if the lead has been left cold, for example. Okay. The speed to lead is crucial. So a good example actually in what happens when you plug those missing leaks and plug those missed opportunities is that's when you see conversions increase. Even without spending more money in marketing, if you're not using AI and automation, plugging in some form of that in the form of Growth Express or in the form of different AI tools will enable you to increase your conversions. The example here on the left shows what it was like with this practice before we installed automation and a call center solution to after. And that went from 31% missed opportunities per month to less than 1% or 0.4%, increasing the call responsiveness to over 50%. And what that resulted in for this particular practice was over $9,000 in consultation fees, and then tens of thousands of dollars, I believe it was over 6 figures in procedural fees on top of that as well. Great example. This was actually with one of our practices, Dr. Giselle, and that was the example that we just saw a few moments ago. Really high show rate, making sure that we're implementing from an AI standpoint. And in this case, we provided a human asset as well, a team, appointment booking concierge team to get patients scheduled. So just the note here would be to ensure that you have a baseline, and adding any one of these tools, training team members, for example, having the automation in place, the AI tools to be able to follow up through email and text message. If you don't have them, just adding them will increase the percentage of conversions that you're already experiencing. We're going to talk a bit about reputation, and we all know the importance of reviews. And so the question becomes, do you have a system for reviews? We'd love to get some feedback in the chats. Most of us do, right? Most of us do have some form of a system in order to get reviews. Well, reviews, of course, they create that confidence. We're able to get more calls. We're able to get those rankings in the search engine. We're able to get the rankings now within the exposure within the AI engines. More reviews equals more calls, more schedules, more show rates, more sales opportunities. And so we want everybody here as part of the workshop, we want you to be the first practice that the patients call. And so in order to do that, having a really strong reputation and to be able to make sure that you've got the ability to get reviews in consistently and maintain them. When we do that, that's where again, we see examples of practices that this particular example for NJ Vein Care and Aesthetic Center with Dr. I remember it was he had zero reviews at that particular location. It was a newer location, hadn't put a focus on it, and then went to 67 reviews, which was a big milestone for his practice within 30 days. That was a combination of asking patients, sending them the review link, having a good strategy, and also a tool that helped with that. And that immediately gave him a boost in rankings, increasing those phone calls, and just getting more patients in as part of that one thing. Getting those additional reviews helped him because that was a missing piece as part of the equation. Okay. Some other examples here with Naturalness Med Spa Marietta, as part of the overall reputation and the overall trust factors, really good images of the staff. Take a little audit on your Google business profile. Is there an image of you and your team, or is it an empty chair, or is it a building outside with a dumpster? We obviously don't want that. What does that look like to the patient? Is it conveying confidence? Is it conveying warmth to get them into the practice? Dr. Ward here as well, over 400 reviews. Google business profile, ensure the products are listed out, just ensure that reputation is enhanced by maxing the potential of that Google business profile. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the database, okay, about some of the revenue that's at your fingertips. And going into 2026, and as I speak to a lot of practices, leveraging the existing contact base that you have in order to get that repeat revenue or to boost revenue from referrals you've already got from patients that you've perhaps already invested marketing dollars into getting, that's also going to give you a necessary baseline and sometimes a boost of revenue just from doing that one thing. And so most of us here are going to have some type of database, whether it's your project management system, your EMR, in some cases a CRM like this as well. We're using that in order to run campaigns, to do constant marketing to them, whether it's constant contact in an email standpoint or email plus text message is very, very effective. In this example here, a small database of about 1,400 contacts in the database. We ran a campaign over the course of just about under a couple of weeks, 14 booked appointments that weren't coming in. They were kind of, in fact, this particular database I recall was quite stale, hadn't been marketed to for a while. So the owner was, hopeful at best that there would be any response, but they generated, over $12,000 in revenue because patients came in for appointments that wouldn't have come in otherwise. So just make sure you're keeping that database warm. You're communicating to patients that are already in your ecosystem. Okay. As we start to move close to tying together the components that are important in your marketing plan, it wouldn't be appropriate to move forward without talking about some of the maybe intangibles, but the training and the coaching that's really, really important, and the education for you and your team. And I know that running a practice and keeping up with CMEs, that education is inherent and it's built into your DNA. It's really important also for team members to understand, on top of the clinical aspect, kind of the patient service aspect, the patient experience. We find that practices that go through different types of sales training, particularly, and sales training, really, when you break down its essence, it's about understanding patients more. It's about providing more for their wants and needs and getting them to communicate their wants and needs better so that you can provide better outcomes. Engaged teams show a 21% increase in profitability for their practice. They're engaged in training. They're embracing the sales training. They're using frameworks. They've got a script to refer to, but they're building that muscle mass for your team so they can really become conversion engines or enhance their performance as conversion engines for your practice. We believe and we see that this really becomes a competitive advantage for practices that we work with that embrace the coaching, that do the work alongside the marketing components that we've just been through. As the data says here from some of the studies that we referenced, 53%, over a third of Americans say they'll consider switching companies after just one instance of poor service. So we want to ensure that there's consistency, there's congruency with that new patient journey, and that there's really, really great patient service as part of what you're offering at your practice. There's a couple of books that are favorites of mine. I've shared them with many of the practices that we work with. Never Lose a Customer Again, Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Gaida, and then the operational side, Traction by Gino Wickman and his team, which really gets into the operational piece and a lot more of the data and the tracking. But there are some gifts that you can give your team to pick one or two of those over the course of the quarter. Do a book club. That's a form of training as well. You can pick the topic. You can bring in that mentor, that the writer of that book, in order to coach and guide your team on some of the important aspects here. Also, impact training. We're big on helping our practices to do forms of impact training with their team. We do impact trainings for the practices that we work with. We also support them in doing them internally. Those impact trainings may be on getting more reviews for the month. They may be on reducing the number of no-shows, for example. The list goes on, but just having those quick huddles and setting up a formulatic approach really, really helps out. And then we'll come back and that will generate return on investment for your business as well. As we start to wrap it up here, just we're going to talk a little bit about kind of some of the tracking aspects. Okay. So having a dashboard set up is crucial. We spoke about CRM a little bit earlier, just a graphic display. And this is a good example actually from Elaine and the team over at the Med Spa of DFW. So as they're tracking, number one, they have a dashboard, right? They have it within our Growth Express software. They're using that. They're updating it. They're clicking the button when the patients come in. They're updating the dollar amount of those patients. And over the course of the last 18 months, they've been able to see the fruits of their labor. And by following the process and by actually leveraging the system, they've got thousands of opportunities in the system that are being remarketed to, that are coming in for consultations. They've got $2.1 million of opportunity in the pipeline and converted massive amount, almost 1.5 million during that time. Amazing story there because there was a little bit of reinvention that Lane and the team did with that practice. So it's been absolutely awesome to see them do that. Again, the message here is have a system, have a tracking system, find a way to use it, empower your team to use it, and keep that training going to make sure that it is used consistently. I want to do a quick pulse check just to see how we're doing. We've been through quite a little bit here already. I just want to do a pulse check and make sure you're still with me. Give me a yes here if you are. And we're going to wrap it up with some of the workbook references. I want to make sure that you leave with everything that you need today. Awesome. Okay, cool. And so in order to kind of reference the workbook here, I want you to do the assessment on your practice. You can do this in your own time. I'd like you to spend the time doing it, going through and rating your business with a green, yellow, or red. Green, you're crushing it, in really good spot, really not a whole lot of room for improvement, other priorities. Yellow, you've really got to look at that and kind of make a call. Do we need to focus on that today, or is that more tomorrow? But we need to pay attention. And then red, this is something that we absolutely need to double down on. This needs to get fixed because it's broken. We're either causing problems or missing opportunities. And you want to look at that under the lens of how we're driving leads, our organic situation, our paid ads, our database, the conversion. Are we maximizing conversion from the website, from the reputation that we got in the marketplace, from the reviews, from the automation? And also with optimizing the return on investment, are we tracking the total spend? Are we tracking the KPIs of our ad campaigns, the average cost per lead, for example, the return on investment? Take the time, go through and assess your practice, and it'll provide some key takeaways. In fact, I'd love to understand, what are some of the key takeaways that you have? Hopefully this has been helpful and you've got some insights and key takeaways. There's a lot of content that we provided here, and hopefully this was super practical. We did some of the work, obviously, and I hope you guys have been staying with me. But I'd love to hear, is there any key takeaways? Is there anything in red or one thing that you've identified that you want to cover after finishing the workshop here today? What we've covered today, so we've been through quite a bit over the last almost 90 minutes. I promised, to get us out 90 minutes, and I'm committed to that. So my goal was to give you the roadmap to make sure you had clear goals, clear targets for the year, that you had KPIs, numbers, key performance indicators that you could track. I wanted to make sure that we went through the different components of a plan in order to help you to understand what you needed to do to accomplish those goals, from the budget, from the marketing channels, and understanding the trends that are in the marketplace so that you can decide which of those channels you need to focus on. And at the end of the day, I'm here for you to make sure that 2026 is a massive success for you and for your team. We're not going to go through any, this is another example of a case study, but again, the emphasis on the tracking here is really, really important. Dr. Rios and his team using the CRM in order to track the results of the marketing channels, of the budget they've invested, and of the training that him and his team move through. When you do those components, that's when you really see massive breakthroughs, okay? And I want to understand, with all of these components in place, what would it mean for you? You've got your goals. You know the action items that need to be done. You've got to prioritize them. You understand your why. Think about what it's going to look like at the end of 2026 when you reflect on the action that you've taken in order to achieve the goals that you set. And again, big Tony Robbins fan, but when you do that, when you sit in that space, I'd encourage you to set some time after the workshop here to do that. That's really when you'll be able to create that plan and to carve out time and mark it on the calendars for the execution points along the way that you'll need. And of course, bring in other people in order to help with different parts of the process where appropriate. If you would like any help with strategizing, with following on from what we discussed in the workshop today, we will be able to provide a full online visibility, be able to show you where you're ranking within the maps, within the online presence. We can show you how you're showing up within those organic and social media areas. We'll do a ranking report and also show you how you're showing up in the paid search areas as well. We can do an analysis of your full digital presence. We call this a growth marketing audit, and we'll even do a competitive assessment with it as well. Anyone who signs up for the audit and assessment will also be able to get a free copy. We'll send you a free copy of our book, Digital Marketing and Sales for Aesthetic Practices, which has a lot of valuable content for not only medical and aesthetic practices, but just business owners themselves have been able to use it and really benefit from it. So if you would like to talk, again, you can use it's clinicgrower.com/schedule. That will bring you to the website, a couple of short questions so that we can understand a bit more about your business. It's no obligation. We'll set up a call with you. Our team will do the hard work, the hard yards in order to prepare for that, to deliver value. And if we're able to work together, obviously high fives, we'd love to create more wins for you. But at the end of the day, we're going to be able to provide you with a lot of value that you can use to better your business, no matter what happens on the course of the call. You can also text, or you can email us at, text us at 877-813-6873. You can also email me, bref@clinicgrower.com. I'm going to leave you with the action items, which are within your workbook. And after the call today, hopefully you've got 5-10 minutes. Just create those top 3 action items. What are you going to do after the workshop today? This has been your 2026 growth marketing plan. I'm Bref McHugh with Clinic Roar. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve you today. I want to wish everybody the absolute best. Let's go out and dominate 2026. And until then, I will see you within the social media feeds that we're in, doing the educational pieces in the groups that we're part of. Feel free to come check us out at clinicroar.com. We have a ton of resources on the website. And until then, be well. Thank you so much. And all the best during the holiday season into 2026.